Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll make a start. Very welcome. I thought it was a bit milder tonight, obviously a bit cold, but we still haven't seen too many clear nights. And John was just asking me about viewing, and we're hoping to have observing at the weekend. So I hope that David shows up, and hopefully we'll be able to confirm that or otherwise. Has everybody got their news sheet? You guys are doing a good job. There's the news sheets there. Just a wee reminder, if anybody wants to join and hasn't paid their sub, or is a regular member and hasn't paid their sub, Pat at the front and Mary at the front. So you know where you are. Thanks very much. Okay, we're just going to have a quick run through some stuff that's coming up in the sky. We're going to have Cherry Teaser, and then we're going to have a double bill tonight. Unfortunately, it's not the speaker that we hoped, but we've got double good value, so we're looking forward to that. Thomas and Sean are ready to go. Okay, so what's coming up? Well, there's some, this is actually not some whoops. I'm going to turn it off, okay, because some people say they can't see what's going on. So I'll turn it off. If anybody's unhappy, shout. Right, I'll go down to the presentation. Is that done enough, or do you need it off all the way?
That's fine, Andy.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you can't see it, as I say, put down to the front, because there doesn't seem to be anybody sitting at the front, apart from Terry. Okay, the sun, well, this was the sun actually yesterday. Today's sun is almost bright, which is unusual. Just this little group here, 3146. It's the only sunspot on the sun at the moment. But this group that's just about to move off the sun, they've been very active. And we've been keeping our eye on them over the last couple of weeks, actually, and they put on a fair show. But the sun is, as I say, almost bland today, which is quite unusual. However, as you can see in the ultraviolet photograph, there's a huge, great big coronal hole here, and that hole has been pumping stuff out into space, and there's some hope that we might see an aurora. I'm going to say this. There's some hope that we might see the aurora around about the 20th, but we're certainly due to have something from it. Hopefully it'll be strong enough to give us an aurora we can see. Most of you know that the moon actually wobbles a little bit, and one of the things you can look out for when the moon's wobbling is some of the features that are just round the corner. And one of my favourite objects is trying to see the Mare Orientale, which is just round the corner. Well, there's a nice favourable libration, these things are called, on the 18th, which is during that time. And the Mare Orientale, which is the big thing right on the edge here, it should be nicely on display for us. So if you haven't seen that, it's worth seeing. It's the largest impact basin, I think, on the moon, so it's certainly worth a look. Jupiter still very nicely on view, saw it way down here tonight, although it was pretty cloudy. Excuse me. Still nice and bright, magnitude minus 2.6. And if you can get a nice still period, you can see John Hall has taken some brilliant pictures here. I think that's it might be Europa, I'm not too sure. But you can see he's got a mixture sequence as first of all the shadow transit moves across, and then you can see the moon itself. And if it's clear on the 18th, which is Tuesday, I think, you will see Callisto skimming past the bottom of Jupiter. So instead of being out to the side, Callisto will be skimming on the bottom of Jupiter, past its northern limb. Of course, these images are upside down, so at the top. And the good news about that is it's a reasonably social hour. It's about 11 o'clock at night, which isn't too bad. Again, on the 20th, there's a nice wee event. Ganymede is accompanied by Jupiter, and again, it's at 5:30. Now, it's actually getting quite dark at 5:30, and you should be able to see this. There's a shadow transit associated with it. If you miss that one, it's going to happen again, a very similar set of events on the 27th. So Jupiter is definitely still worth a look. And there has been some quite nice still seeing. But of course, Mars is coming to the fore at the moment. Mars is in firm position on the 8th of December. It's very bright. It looks nice. And I can see it every night from a front door in the eastern sky. It's in Taurus. It was just between the horns of the bull, but from the 30th of October it's going to be what's called retrograde, so it's been moving back again. So if you even take a series of photographs over the next couple of weeks, you'll see Mars is retrograde, which is caused by, of course, the Earth pitching up and overtaking again. It's also nice and high, it's also nice and bright. It's going to be around about 60 degrees up, which is beautiful for observing. And the really interesting thing at the moment is that there's a big white cloud over the South Pole, and that cloud's been there for the last week or so. So, with a reasonable size telescope and with nice clear skies, you should be able to see some data. There's another interesting thing happening on Mars and on the Moon. There's going to be a nice occultation. And it's almost straight through the centre. Anybody that gets Terry's news sheets or Terry's email alerts, he was talking about this on the, I think it's on the 8th, is it, Terry?
Yeah, I've been in that position for the Moon.
Yeah, so it's the 8th. The only unfortunate thing is, I think it's about 4:30 in the morning, so that's not so clever. But straight across the middle, there's a wee graphic here, we'll see if it works. Are you going to work? It's working perfectly earlier. It's refusing to work. Aha! There you go. So you can see Mars, and it more or less goes right through the centre. Can you see everything in the lights out?
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay. And then it reappears, and reappears in another ridiculous star, something like 5 or something like that. Can't see the times probably. But yeah, but good event, quite rare, and it's certainly worth a look if you get a chance, if you're up at that time in the morning. Okay, Uranus is also very well placed at the moment. Haven't had a chance to look, I must be honest. If it's clear on Friday night, we'll maybe do some observing the Clanny Boy and get the ultra-sensitive camera on it, see if we can pick up any of these moons. But Uranus, if you've never seen it, it's supposed to have a nice greenish hue. I have to say, I really struggle to see it. Can't see a little bit, but I really struggle to see the greenish hue. Green is one of the most difficult colours to see in the sky, of course. And not to forget Saturn. Saturn's still there. If you're out early enough, and it's getting nice and dark early, don't miss out on Saturn. It's heading steadily into the western sky. But on the 29th, if you're not too sure whether you're looking at Saturn or not, it's very close to the Moon. And that's the second time this month Saturn and the Moon come close together. Mentioned at our last meeting, the Leonids. I don't know. There's some predictions that we could have a mini outburst. I certainly don't think we're due a meteor storm, certainly nothing like the woodcutting here, but the Leonids usually show up. I have said, I'm not picking up too many Leonids on the meteor camera at the moment. There's only 1 or 2 over the last couple of nights, but it has been quite cloudy. And we're really expecting no more than 15 per hour at best conditions. So if you see a couple, you're probably doing all right. But worth a look, certainly, just in case there is that outburst, which are quite difficult to predict. Just had this up last time as well, and the joy of this is the sky. You can see the sky, the western sky is the summer sky, and the eastern sky is the winter sky. And if you've been around about 6, 7, 8 o'clock, you'll start to see the Pleiades, which of course is one of the gems of the winter sky, over in Taurus. But at the same time, you can look over in the west, and you can still see Deneb, and you can still see Altair, and you can still see Vega. So those summer stars are still there, but plugged in the middle are the stars below. Okay, now the latest that I heard today was Artemis had launched and successfully. Did anybody see the news? Unfortunately, I haven't seen it. I tell you, it all went without any hitch. Yeah. Excellent. Quite exciting. I'll have to buy a couple of the Times tomorrow. Start of the new era. Make sure I have the newspaper. Like such rubbish. But yeah, no, it's good that it's gone, and hopefully everything will continue to go without hitch, and we'll start to see some astronauts back on space heading towards the Moon. Okay, so next on the agenda is Terry's teaser. But just before I say that, Jerry, did you bring the membership book this time? Where's Jerry?
Yes.
Are you signing it? Are you signing it?
Yes, I couldn't bring it last time, Andy, because I wasn't here. But if you have a page or something from last time, I've left a gap so that this page can be put into the membership book. And I've got the photograph of the page to send. So
it's a good pass through?
Membership books here. Most people send it in as through the door.
They're all excellent. Oh, it's a bag. Sorry, John. If anybody hasn't signed it, it's at the back. Okay, John?
Thanks. Right, as most of you know, I usually try and make the teacher
related to the topic of the lecture, but since we've got 2 lectures tonight, I decided I wouldn't go for either one because that would be favoritism. So I've made something completely different. You probably can't see at the back, but these are Smarties, okay? And the question is, what is the connection between a Smartie and space? And I said a Smartie specifically. No guesses. I'll give you a clue. It's topical. Topical as in today. Nobody? They have to spell it out for you. And that's another clue. Oh, come on. What happened today?
Items.
Say again. It's an anagram. Smart, it's an anagram of artists. Here we go. So we can have competitive Smarties, or you can have the mutual Smart. I didn't want to spot you on. It's yours.
This is where we cross our fingers. Excellent. Thinking about okay. Ladies and gentlemen, and we're, as I said, we're having a nice little meal tonight. And these are 2 PhD students, which Alan has volunteered, or did you volunteer?
We volunteered.
They volunteered. Right. So the first one tonight is John Bryan, and he's in his 2nd year of your PhD. And he's going to be telling us about hunt for exoplanets using citizen science. So maybe we welcome him in the right.
Yes, okay. That sounds good. We go up a little bit. Put your shirts on. There we go. That's a better. Yeah, so thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me here today, or this evening. I'm Sean O'Brien. I'm a PhD student here at Queen's, and what I work on is trying to search for exoplanets using citizen science or people power, the power of the crowd. So I'll just dive straight in here. Quick summary of what I'll talk about is, first off, I'll explain what an exoplanet is, just so we're all on the same page, and then go into sort of slightly drawing process of how we go about finding them, talk about the different telescopes that we use, looking at the transit method, that's what I use in my own research, although we'll briefly touch on a few of the others, and then talk about how humans are involved both as professional astronomers, as supposedly, and also how amateur astronomers can get involved and have been involved in the past, which I'll round up this last section on a few interesting exoplanets that have been found by citizen scientists who have partaken in previous projects. So yeah, we'll get started. So before we talk about what exoplanets are, it's good to make sure we talk about what are planets. So this is our own solar system, and you see we've got the planets here, the rocky planets on the inside this what's called the snow line, such as the distance at which you have the rocky planets form inside of that, whereas you get all the gas and the ice outside because it's colder, and the gas doesn't just get blown away. So we're all fairly familiar with this picture, and I'll briefly define what a planet is. So some of you who were at the main event last week might recognise this slide. I don't need to steal it for a friend of mine. But a planet, I've sort of skipped a few steps here, a planet is big, but not too big, I mean not a star. Round, so that's your body, so it's not an asteroid, it's all mangled up in a weird shape. orbiting the sun and doesn't have anything that is similar size nearby, so that's what we rule out Pluto. As well as a few other dwarf planets that we started to find, and like, maybe we can't say that Pluto's a planet. So what's the next planet? Well, basically the same, except instead of being orbiting the sun, it orbits at our outside of the solar system. Easy enough. So what do these sort of exoplanets look like? Well, this is an example of not anything you actually see as a real system, but just to show a few different types together. So you might have heard, if you've read about exoplanets, hot Jupiters, we find a lot of them. Not actually as common as you think, based on how many we find, they're just very easy to find, all things considered. So the reason they're interesting is they're the size of Jupiter, they're very close to their stars, which is why we say hot. They're very unlikely to have formed here. They probably formed out here and moved in throughout their history. We also get taken superpuffs, so big expanded atmosphere, super Earths, which is, as the name suggests, an Earth-like planet, rocky, but larger than the Earth. We also get things on very weird orbits, so as you know, the planets in the solar system are all roughly on the same inclination. We see that we do find planets that are weird retrograde orbits, perhaps if they're going the completely wrong way, or just as heavily inclined or even polar. Also, distant super Jupiters. I don't know too much about these, but these do exist as well. It's very, very far out. I imagine further than Neptune's orbit would be, but huge planets that we find. So, what we've got next? Yeah, so how do we actually find these exoplanets? Well, I've sort of grouped it down into three main steps. You need a telescope, or telescopes. You need a method, so we're obviously talking about the transit method, and you need human input. So we'll start going through telescopes. So we have a few different examples here. So Kepler Space Telescope was launched in about 2009. That was a NASA mission which has now ended, but that really revolutionised the field of exoplanets and found, I can't remember the number now. They say it's something like 2,000 confirmed exoplanets, but whether they're confirmed or highly likely, we're not too sure. But it's really changed the field and helped us learn a lot about exoplanets, and especially planets more similar to Earth. TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, currently operating, has been for about 4 years now, and you can maybe see, maybe not, that this looks maybe more conventionally like you can see some cameras here. I'm not sure if you can actually see that. So this is a very useful instrument which I do use in my own research from time to time, and get data from that. And then the last one here is the Next Generation Transit Survey, or NGTS. So Queen's is heavily involved with the running of NGTS. It's the data that I use primarily, and I will talk about this more than other exoplanet astronomers would, because it's special to me. So this is a ground-based survey, 12 telescopes out in Chile, and you can see they look very much more like a telescope that you'd be used to. But these are all robotically operated, which will have only big mounts, and they can get to a very, very high precision, which is what makes them so good at what they do. So that's the telescopes that I'll be talking about. Now we'll go into methods. So I'll come back to the transit method. Radial velocity method. It's a really slightly scaled by the word, but it's just that's how we measure the masses, looking at the wobble of the star. But I won't spend too much time on that. Direct imaging, you image the system, hopefully it's face off. You see bright spots, and those correspond to where the planets are. So sounds simple, but you need very specific systems where the planets are quite young, so they still have a lot of internal heat and they have brightness. You think you're not seeing reflected light, you're seeing intrinsic light from that planet. So it makes them quite tricky to see. And there's also many more transit timing variations, astrometry, so there's a lot of different things that you use to find exoplanets, but the big two is radial velocity method and then the transit method. So I use the transit method primarily, and that is what I will quickly try and describe. So hopefully some of you are familiar with it, but I imagine not everyone will be. So you have the planet orbiting a star, as you watch down here, as the planet passes in front, you get a drop in the level of light, and then it goes back up as it passes away. So I'll let that play through again. Hopefully it restarts. Hopefully. There we go. So planet's coming around. Camera's going to rotate into view. So if you imagine your telescope pointed at this, planet's coming along. You don't actually see the planet, you're just measuring the amount of light, and it will drop, and then it goes back up. From the size of the drop, you can estimate the radius of your planet, and then this is why we combine it with our gradient velocity method to get that mass. And that's what tells us about the composition, so we can say, oh, this might be a super Earth, this could be a gas giant. It's all based on the densities and such. So, what does this data actually look like? So this is from TESS, the Translating Expert Survey Satellite. And you've got all these points, which every single measurement of the brightness taken by that satellite. These will be every 2 minutes. And you can see here it's observed for about a month. And then this, look at the brightness, there's these big dips, 3 big dips roughly every 10 days, and these are a synthetic exoplanet, but an exoplanet nonetheless, at least for the purposes of how this looks. So this is how a computer will try and spot it, or humans as well. They will look at this data, a computer will try and just identify where there is these dips, either through some sort of complicated machine learning, or just by looking for a periodic signal. So I'll do a little bit of audience participation, which if you're in the mix again, you would see. But hopefully you get a sense of what it's like to do what is sort of real kind of citizen science using some data from a real NASA satellite. So I'll just do a slideshow hand. So this is from the Planet Hunters TESS project, which is a URL there, so you can go and have a go. I'll also put the links at the end on the final slide. So if you think that the transit is in sector A, and this is quite easy, I'm just trying to get everyone into it, then put your hand up now. If you think it's in B, then stick your hand up. And if you think it's in C, D, okay, so it is there in B. I promise you the next one is a bit trickier, but same idea. So if you think it's in A, B, C, D. So, those of you who said D, it is here. You have to trust me on this. So the way you can try and tell is you've got a larger cluster of points that lie underneath the main cluster. So while you've got a few points down here, you've got all of them roughly at the same point on the time. So ground-based, as I've said, I'll get to about NGTS. It's a little bit different when you go from the ground. So obviously when you're in space with a telescope, they can observe continuously, or at least mostly continuously, so it observes for about usually 13 days, and then there's a big gap just when it has to download the data, as it will see for another 13 days. Sadly, you don't have that luxury when you're working from the ground, so as NGS on the ground, it has to observe at night. So what this means is that this graph here, which I'm not expecting you to be able to see anything of interest in here, but each of these vertical lines of the points is one night. So you can't just plot this out in the same way you did on the previous one, space-based, and see any dips. If I zoom in on one of these nights, you can see it's even more scattering than you get. This is because you start observing there, you come up, you go into a lower air mass or higher altitudes, so there's less turbulence, and then you start to go down again, and you go to the lower air mass and get more scattering points. So what we do with this is first we have to apply the computer algorithm to it in order to try and find any of these transits. So this computer algorithm finds a periodic signal in that data, and trust me, if you search this data for that signal, and then you follow it up what's called phase folding. So simply, it finds a signal, say it's every 5 days in transit, you follow up your data, and then average it out, and you see a nice clear dip in the middle, and this is the same line curve as here. So here you can see there's a nice clear dip, and this is the kind of dips that you expect to see if you do the Planet Hunters NGTS citizen science projects. That's a bit of a bug, because that's the project that I do data analysis for. And again, there'll be a link for that one at the end. So that's the ground-based observing, and that's both the transit method for both space and ground. So next comes where we need the people to look at it. You can't just leave the computers to their own devices, you need to have some human input. So first off, you have professional, in inverted commas, astronomers, such as me, looking at data. You can see that I've got a nice looking candidate, and that's one I can't tell you about because we're still doing work on it. But luckily my screen's fuzzy enough that you can't tell anything interesting. I wish I wasn't doing November when I took this photo, but here we are. You might be able to tell that. So this is what we look at, so we call it eyeballing data. So here's the space one again. Nice clear again. This one's quite V-shaped, it's a grazing transit, so if you want to learn more about it, you can have something at the end. This stuff you don't need to worry about, essentially this is identifying where that periodic signal is, so it's 2.1 days, every 2.1 days in transit, and this is just your CCD image to check that there's no sort of bright sun nearby that would be causing any sort of errors, measurements. But the trouble is, there's a lot of data to look at. If I had more time, I would have made added more and more images here to try and go on for ages, but you know, I had some work to do, or at least maybe some coffee to drink or train next to week, as we often do as PhD students. So the big problem is there's too much data, and you may see where this is going, and this is where the science is going to come in. Before we get to that, we have kept space telescope observed over 500,000 stars. The TESS observed 200,000 stars with good data, plus over 1 billion stars with what's called service data, but it's still pretty good. NGTS, 330 billion measurements of around 3 million stars. The point of these numbers is just to try and give you a sense of the problem of how much data comes in, how much data there is for very small, underfunded, stressed out teams of astronomers there is, and where there is an opening that citizen scientists, members of the public like yourselves, can get involved and really get your hands on some actual telescope data. So yes, we need you. So this, I put in a screenshot and again a link to Planet Hunter's NGTS webpage. So again, this is what I work on. We still have data, we've lost data. Hopefully in the new year, we're going to have brand new data that's not even been looked at by the professional astronomers yet. So it sort of, even in that case, becomes like a race to see, you know, can we find the exoplanets or they find the exoplanets. So that's something we're really excited about. And I don't think I've got a slide on it, but spoilers, we have found stuff so far in old data, so it does work, and you can get involved and you really can find a real exoplanet. So now I want to talk about a few of the interesting systems that have been found through various citizen science projects over the years. I'm just going to quickly check how big the time. I think it should be okay. I've got to start the stopwatch, it's fine. Sorry. So this is from the Planet Hunters project, which is actually run by my PhD supervisor, Meg Schwang, who is a lecturer here at Queen's. And this system here is called PH1b, so that's Planet Hunters 1b, named project is Planet Hunters. This is using Kepler data, and on the discovery paper that was published in an astronomical journal, there were 2 citizen scientists, including astronophers, who are people who actually found this system. So just to explain what we're looking at here, we have what is a primary eclipse and a secondary eclipse. So this is an eclipsing binary system in the middle, which are eclipsing each other. And then here in green, points out, you've got the planet transits. So you've got this eclipsing binary system going around, and then around those 2, you've got another planet going around. And you may notice that it says quadruple star system, also about 1,000 astronomical units away, so 1,000 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. From the central star system, there's another 2 stars orbiting each other that are also gravitationally bound to these. So it's a quadruple star system and a circumbinary planet. Now, you may not realise it, but you have potentially all seen a circumbinary planet in science fiction, because that is what Tatooine is in Star Wars. So you've got 2 stars and the planet Tatooine orbits it. So this is often, you'll see every time all these circumbinaries all over the last few years, they found quite a lot. I think they've found 3 or 4 published planets, again all with different members of the public on the author list. Planet Hunters NGTS is the one I'm involved with, and we've constantly got data. So what I actually recommend is that TESS only has the data every so often. We have data all the time. I would do TESS. When they run out of data, come to ours. That's the way I would operate if I was in the position to be doing it. And then last one is just the universe platform. So this is what hosts both of these system science projects and also quite a lot of other ones, both space astronomy related. So I think there's also sort of supernova hunting ones if you're interested in that. But there's also lots of random stuff like counting iguanas, penguins, or looking through old records. So that brings me to the end. I have no idea whether I was under over time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Sean, perfect. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoyed it a lot. A lot of good stuff in there. All the data comes down, and you have no way of pre-selecting any of the stars. You just take all the data. Most of them that you're picking up, of course, would be in line of sight, right?
As in, so the factors that we
If you're
see.
going around this way, you're not
Yeah,
going to see
yeah,
them.
so-
Okay. So is it a fair assumption that most of the stars will have planets?
Yeah.
Is that where you are at the moment?
With the transit method, you obviously need it to be so we've got inclination 90 degrees is edge on facing, so you've got it comes right across in front. And then I think you can probably go to about, well, plus or minus maybe 5, maybe 10 degrees from there, but anything past that you'll see it. The current estimate is that on average, not to say every star has a planet, but on average every star, there should be one planet per star in the Milky Way at least. So you've got 10 million, 100 million stars, should be about 10 million, 100 million planets in our own galaxy alone.
Okay. And is there any particular type of star which is shown it has got lots of planets rather than others? Is the
Yes.
Sun a prime example of it?
I think, so you sort of classify by spectral type, so Sun is a G-type star, sort of FGK is what we call solar type, and they're, I think, I can't remember the top of my head, so there's definitely a decent number of planets around those stars. I think, so one thing is that because they're medium-sized and large-sized stars, there's enough material in the protoplanetary disk, which is what all the dust and all the gas and all that forms planets. There's more of that, and that's will give you a bigger star. That also means more chance of planets to form. When you go to small stars like M-dwarfs, so they can be sort of a third the size of the sun. We still find, especially for like Earth-sized planets, so the Tropic system, that's an M-dwarf. So they're still fairly common, but these very large, like hot Jupiters, Jupiter-sized planets, we don't see them at all.
Any questions? We'll start taking them now. Sure.
So, thanks, it was very interesting. You know that all the planets in our solar system have very slightly different inclinations, particularly Mercury. When we are looking at exoplanets and we see them transiting every time, does that mean, sorry, I'm talking about multiple systems here, does that mean that they're almost all exactly at the same plane?
Yeah, so in general, we see that for exoplanets as well, that multi-planet systems are usually in the same plane of you. So I can't think of any examples off the top of my head where there's ones where they'd be sort of different, also alignments, different inclinations and that. I think there are a few up there very much the anomaly, the sort of weird ones.
Right.
Jerry, did you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Andy. Great talk, by the way, absolutely excellent. If I could ask two questions. One is, every bit of information we're getting on these exoplanets that tend to be around dwarfs or too close to the suns, or there's radiation and things, have we come across any star systems like our solar system? That'll be the first question. And the second is, if we do come across an exoplanet and we find that there's something actually looking back at us, what's the plan? What's the steps we take? What's the protocol for contact if it does arrive?
I can answer the first one. So we haven't really found anything similar to our solar system, but we also haven't really found anything similar to Earth yet. So there's a strong bias in both well, mainly the transit method, which is our primary detection method, to short period planets. So it's this idea you have to see the periodic signal, you have to see a lot of transits to be able to confirm that there is an exoplanet there, which means that that's why most of the planets we find are on orbits less than like 10 days, which obviously means you can have like our own solar system. So we have found planets out towards sort of like a 1 year, 365 day period, but nothing that I can think of that would be Earth-sized and more larger planets. So that comes back to the sort of idea of so whether it's based on, it relates to your transit probability. So the further out a small planet is, the lower the probability that you're going to be able to spot the transit. So yeah, it's nothing, we haven't seen like an exact carbon copy of the solar system, or even really anything close. That's not to say the solar system's weird, it's just that our detection methods aren't quite up to the right level. In terms of the second one, I'm not really sure. So yeah, I think that it's probably so far off that I don't know if maybe like the CIA or thought about it, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Well, apart from tattooing, of course.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's apart from away. So.
Any other questions? Okay, you get it at the end. Don't worry, Sean.
Okay.
Brilliant. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, folks, do you want to plug in? Yeah, plug in. We'll give Tom, Sean a...
Hello.
Okay, this is the second talk tonight by Thomas, who is also a second year visiting, and it's about the discovery and characterization of supernova in the local universe. So, Tom, over to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much. Let me just find my cursor here. Yeah, there we are. Okay. I'll be coming back to this later in my talk. But for now, let me share my slides. Never to see that yet. So thank you very much for having me. I'm Thomas Moore. My talk is, as I said, on the discovery and characterization of supernovae in the local universe. Before I start, I'd actually like to say that I sat in the back of some of the IAA meetings as an undergraduate, so it's quite an honour or a challenge to be able to present now. So I'm looking forward to it. So just a brief outline of my talk. What I'd like to do is talk about supernovae, obviously, but I'll introduce what they are. I'll talk about some historical supernovae, and then we'll come right up to the present day and discuss modern sky surveys, how we find them on an industrial scale, and then we'll talk about characterization, how we study them, and then all things being well, there will be a live demonstration. The asterisk is there because it's technology dependent, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. So, all being well, we will find supernova at the end of this talk, but no guarantees and promises, because obviously no warranty on that. So this image on the right is of a really beautiful supernova 1994D. It's type 1A, and this is a Hubble image. Supernovae are fantastic objects. They are the cataclysmic explosions of a star. A star blows itself apart completely. They reach temperatures typically of 10,000 Kelvin, and velocities of also 10,000 kilometers a second, which is really quite fast. And they are incredible element factories. Heavy elements are formed. Heavy elements are formed in these, and we discovered them at quite a phenomenal rate. Up till 2016 on the Transient Wave Server, which is where we record supernova discoveries, there have been 11,314. They're incredibly bright and they outshine those galaxies. And they're also extremely diverse. So anytime we look and we try and investigate something new, there's always new phenomena and these things to be able to study. On the time scales of supernova, we observe them typically in weeks to months, depending on their classification of type. But they remain bright for significantly longer than that. So there are some supernovae that are bright 5 years after discovery. And we're able to get Hubble imaging and deep imaging of their of their environments post-explosion. I have a little video up there that was playing. It's an example of a supernova explosion, just a bubbling away sort of star normally, and then it just blows itself apart. That's typically what we observe with a supernova explosion. And then I've got two images here, and with two supernovae discovered by surveys operating here at Queen's. Yep, it's playing now. So there's a strong breakout, and the star blows itself apart. And from a physics perspective, it just becomes a rapidly expanding ball of gas that's enriched with heavy elements. And we observe it then as these bright points in really beautiful galaxies. These are spirals, these are cherry-picked images, not all are quite as pretty. So the supernovae come in two main types. And there's core collapse, which I have here. And then there's this type of supernova type 1A. And if you've been to this talk before or generally interested in astronomy, type 1A supernovae are really interesting because they allow us to prove distances, because although they have a consistent explosion mass due to this mechanism, whereby a white dwarf star creates mass from a companion star. Then it also passes a mass called the Chandra-Seeker mass that can no longer support itself against gravitational collapse, and it explodes as a type 1A supernova. For core-collapse supernova, it's a similar deal. In the heart of the star, there's nuclear fusion going, and there's upward pressure from that, fighting against the gravitational infall of the material. Once the star runs out of fuel, it no longer has the ability to push itself out against gravity, and it collapses. When it collapses down, and then rebounds off of itself, and causes this rapidly expanding ball of hot plasma and gas that we observe as supernova explosions. So here, I'm going to talk about why they're interesting, and I'm also going to include this very nice image from James Webb Space Telescope of a supernova we discovered here at Queen's last year. And they're test beds of extreme physics, as I mentioned, they're inherently extreme events, and it tells us the history of our own galaxy, because we know through historical records and the fact that there's metals here that supernova have happened in our galaxy and have chemically enriched our galactic environments. And anytime we search wider, we search faster, deeper, and there's always new discoveries being made, and there's new advances in technology that allows us to look further into the universe, look faster, so we can take images of the same point in the sky with higher cadence, and we can search wider, we can image the whole sky every night. And then also, there's an international collaboration to find these and study them, but there's also international competition that we in Queen's are in competition with institutes and collaborations around the world to find these and find them first. And then also, from a personal perspective, I think they're really close to the biggest and brightest explosions that we know of. So there have been some historical supernovae, and one of them is worth mentioning is SN 1054. You'll probably recognize it here as the Crab Nebula. It's also Messier #1, which was just how important it is. And the Chinese astronomers recorded it at the time as a gas star. There's also two supernovae, Tycho supernovae and the Cantabile supernovae, both happened quite a long time ago. They're credited with sort of the beginning of our understanding of astrophysics, and there's some pretty big names in astrophysics where are credited with very detailed study of these objects. But really, the field of supernova discovery started in the 1930s with Walter Bain and Fritz Zwicky, who realized that these weren't classical novae, but they were actually supernovae, which isn't a souped up voxel, but it's in fact a souped up explosion that's 10,000 times brighter than a typical nova. And then also there's the interesting and very well studied supernova 1987A that happened in Large Match of Night Cloud. That's quite an important event, and there's astronomers who've had their whole careers just studying this one object because it's so nearby and easily observable. This Crab Nebula was named by William Parsons, third Earl of Rose, who you might know was the designer and builder of the Leviathan telescope, Burr Castle, so everybody's been there. There's a connection between this object and Ireland. He said about it that I've shown it to many, and all have also been struck with its remarkable aspect, and it is actually really quite beautiful. So there's this method of finding supernovae, what we use here at Queen's on two surveys, Atlas and Pan-STARRS, and it's called difference imaging, and it's essentially this big game to spot the difference with the universe. And then that's a bit very simple terms, but that really is what we do. So over many years now, and in other cases weeks and months, we'll build up something called a wallpaper. We call it a wallpaper, really is a reference sky. And then we take images fresh off the telescope, like this one. As I said, rather conspicuous, bright below, bright in the galaxy. And then we take away our reference image from our new image off the telescope, and we're left with this, which is a difference image. This image is dominated by this sort of noise. It's like you've left your TV untuned, but there's this bright glow that we think is called supernova. We think it's called supernova because of its brightness and its association.